I'm Matt Pack. This is Ethan Mills, Isaac Caudle, Ethan Blair, and Jacob Triplett, and we're from Paintsville High School, and we're presenting the Grand Appalachian Lodge as a project for you all. Eastern Kentucky has always been, let's see here. It's a beautiful country. It's also cold country once upon a time, but the industry is now fleeting. It's almost slowed to a snail's pace. And with all the things that surround us, such as, all the lakes we have here and Martin County elk country, as well as several of the golf courses, there's an opportunity for adventure tourism, as one could put it. We want to rejuvenate this area by building an adventure tourism lodge to host people that are coming to Martin County to hunt elk, or going to Paintsville Lake or Yatesville Lake to fish, and also to ride the Dawkins Trail and do Paddle Fest that's hosted on the Big Sandy River. We believe that we're actually passionate about our area, and we hope that this project is able to rejuvenate the area and bring new money into the community and new life to the community.
Okay. So we spent about 8 hours in our local deed room to find out the history of this property, to better understand it. So the first owner that we could date back to in the 1800s was B.F. Spradlin. The famous John C.C. Mayo acquired this land for $1, which is when it was mined under him. In about 2004, Howes Land Company acquired the land. And today, currently, a descendant of John C.C. Mayo owns the land, and we've tried to contact him, however we couldn't. The community contributions that we found would be from John C.C. He built a beautiful local church, and he contributed to so many other landmarks within our community. We went on the property, and we found that there was a high wall on it. There's a pond. We found a lot of let me see. Is that next slide? Yes. Okay. That's the pond pictured, and then our high wall. And right here, we found that there were traces of. We found many animal markings, such as deer rubs, and we found red fox footprints, multiple species. The reason we chose this abandoned coal mine in particular is because we are at the center point of everywhere you would possibly want to do any of these adventure tourism activities. You can see we have our measurements from where we are from each location and how that can be taken advantage of within this region.
All right, so as we've said before, Eastern Kentucky is just absolutely beautiful, and I feel like it's underappreciated for most part of the country. They just think, we're just hillbillies who live in a holler and don't really get out to see much. But it truly is a beautiful country, and there's demand, and we have people come in from all over the country for both like hunting and just like ecological tourism, just to see what's out there. For example, Donald Trump Jr.'s son actually stayed in Martin County the past couple years to go elk hunting. So it does attract not only famous people, but just people from around the country. And so our idea for the lodge is to bring people in for adventure tourism. And as we've explained before, there's many great places to be, numerous lakes, golf courses, hunting, fishing places, just like natural wildlife trails. And what we hope to accomplish with this lodge is that we can just show people that Eastern Kentucky isn't just some place where coal used to be, but it's much more.
Now, a lodge would be, a run-of-the-mill lodge. It could be replaced with an inn, a hotel. If you're a hunter or if you just want to experience the land, you can go to a hotel for a cheap price. But our lodge would be something more than that. Our lodge would host many different activities. We would be deep-rooted in our community because our local community is starved, I feel, for activities and just like, the hustle and bustle, that's what they crave, the hustle and bustle of everyday life. things to do, things for your family to do. And our lodge would be deep-rooted with our community, such as Paintsville and the counties surrounding us. We would host dances for high schools, balls, and this would not only be seasonal for hunting, things like that. We would host Christmas dinners, Thanksgiving dinners, prom, for our local high schools. There are many benefits to having a lodge in such a beautiful epicenter of our community. Other than that, we would also seek to build an in-house restaurant, a good place to eat for people who want to just sit down and have a good meal, not only for guests, for anybody who wants to sit down. Also a local coffee shop. People, wake up early in the morning, they want a cup of coffee. Our lodge is very close to many different businesses where people would commute. So they can pick up a cup of coffee on their, daily commute and go about their business. Our lodge would be multifaceted in what it does. So we would not be limited to a certain time period or certain activities. We would we would also have a local apple festival, Apple Day, as you might know it. People love Apple Day. I've grown out of it myself, but people adore it. People come from all around, to come have fun and talk with people, get to know, somebody you haven't seen for a long time. We would host events, maybe have a tent up in Paintsville, as many other businesses do. These are just some of the few things that we want to bring to our local community and to enrich our business so it has longevity. What's wrong? Schedule. Remind me later. You're not on it. Having some technical difficulties. All right, management team. Apologies.
Okay, so probably like most of the teams here, we've worked numerous hours on our project, and so I was just going to give a little quick introduction for each of our members. This is Matt Pack, and we have chosen him as our captain, and he's kind of the one who obviously spearheaded the whole thing, being the captain. And this is Ethan Blair. He was over the environmental aspect, and we actually, as a whole group, went out to our land site and just kind of explored, kind of to look out and see and kind of imagine what it could be like if we get the funding to go for it. Jacob Triplett down here, he is our financial guy. He's kind of over our strategy for our finances. And then Isaac, he was the head of innovations and kind of the idea man. And I was our head researcher, so.
With our market analysis, we plan to, sorry, we had a bit of technical difficulty. I had to skip the slide because the presentation did not save the way we had it. With our market analysis, as Mill said, we have a very large economy in our town based around like local events, basketball games, local presenters and entertainers, and so things such as Apple Day, and with especially like times within winter, it may be argued that our lodge may have to be seasonal. In fact, it wouldn't. The market, of course, would be year-round because of the hunting seasons, the fishing seasons, and the basketball season stuff in the winters, local festivals, holidays such as that would allow for a year-round market to stay alive and continue our business throughout the years. As well, as I stated, around our area, we have elk country, we have the many lakes, rivers, golf courses, and this lodge is meant to be a center point to all of that. We wanted to be able to give people a place to go when they want to come in for things such as that, or to see family, and allow for them to have somewhere nice to stay, somewhere unique, and to keep the business alive for many years to come based around this. And due to the many types, of course, wild game, fish in eastern Kentucky, and the many opportunities like the Dawkins Trail and local state parks and things, we believe that the business would be very, very successful based around that. Our financial strategy, we plan, just as I stated, to allow for many different events to be held at our lodge, and within that, we plan to have 80 to 150 rooms in the lodge, and we plan to build it based off of state and federal grants, loans, and large investors within the community. The state of Kentucky gives a lot of money in grants to rebuild businesses on old coal land, and so does the federal government. And we've spoken to our local government and a lot of people that would be willing to invest in our community, and have gotten confirmation that if this project were to carry forward, we would have investors with both on the state level in the form of many of our state senators and congressmen, and the local level in the form of local business owners and just large local investors.
Now, this is a very large undertaking for a business. We understand that. It's a lodge. It would take, an exuberant amount of money. And we understand that, but we have estimated that we would get a return on our investment within about 5 to 8 years. It would take, it's a long process. We would probably be in the hole in the first coming years, but that's a risk we're willing to take because we have that much trust within our community to support, such a business. We would probably make revenue generally around $1.5 million a year. Now, this is looking at our later costs because in the beginning of our business, we would try to reduce our costs to bring in more customers, a larger customer base. Then we would continue to increase our prices, by a small margin to cover our bases and, increase that, as I said, longevity of our business. That's about it.
One of the main things that made us decide to pursue this business was the fact that its longevity. With other ideas that had been thrown to us by just numerous people we'd asked about this project, one thing that always stuck out to us was that it was seasonal. You would have to shut down during the winter or other things like that. With a lodge, like every one of us have stated, there's always going to be something going on. Apple Day, the spring fling, ball games, there's something going on in the community, and people will need a place to stay. And we did some research within our community. I believe we researched a 20-mile radius, 25-mile radius. There was 13 different hotels and inns surrounding us. But the thing that would make our lodge so special would be that we're right in the center of Paintsville. There's Walmart's half a mile down the road. On our model here, we have miles to, this is Yatesville Lake, Paintsville Lake, Cave Run, et cetera, and being in the center of all that, I believe would attract more customers than if it was just set, off the side of 23 or somewhere like that. And hold the power button so it turns green.
Okay, so to go over our model a little bit more, here's the pond on our side. I don't know how well you can see. And then we would plan to have the local coffee shop come in and move here. This would be our conference center where we would host calls and dinners and holiday events for children and the families. And then this would be the lodge itself. This pole right here points to each location that we have mapped, and it tells the distances from and it focuses on how we are the center to all these activities. there's so many activities to do. The Dawkins Trail hosts many things, golf courses, everybody loves a good golf course. We have the Lavassa Fork, elk country, as we mentioned, Donald Trump Jr. came in here locally to hunt, which we think is very fascinating. Gatesville Lake is great for fishing. Paintsville and Gatesville both host a lot of fishing tournaments through the year, as well as Dewey. Cave Run, also great for fishing. This would be our logo for our lodge. We like the design, the Grand Appalachian Lodge. This would be our high wall, and we would plan to have rappelling for people to have an activity on the site. The pond would also be open for children fishing, and we plan to sell them fish food for 50 cents a cup, and they can see what fish come to eat. That way, it's for everybody who's here, while everybody goes out and does things in their local surrounding areas, they also have things on site to do. And that was a big aspect and something that we wanted to do.
To emphasize on the interest that this lodge would bring, we went to Frankfurt and we met with Senator Brandon Smith. And Smith is he's very hopped up on his pro-environmental, environmental sentiments. He has a bill going through right now that is for recycling. He's big on recycling right now. And we proposed this idea to him, and he adored it. And that said that, we could bring him up in any sort of conversation regarding this, and that we had, a good line of communication with him regarding it. That's our presentation.
Thank you, guys.
Exact location of your lodge.
Okay, so we have, it's on Route 40. You have the Johnson Central High School, and it's right behind there between the river and the high school. It's right in the center of town, which is very convenient for the idea of it.
Also, Route 40 is probably the most traveled road within Paintsville, Kentucky. That's how most of us, I believe, all of us take that road to get to school each morning.
We would see the entrance to this lodge
Yep.
every single day.
And it helps with building the road into the lodge because it's right off the highway. You just put in a little turning lane and you get right in there. And there's so much land.
And although we say it's right in the middle of town, it still doesn't take away from the fact that it's kind of set back up in the holler. So you're not right in the middle of town where you get that sort of urban feel. You get more of like a rural, like you're kind of secluded for everyone while being in the midst of everything.
Okay. Because I used to live in Paintsville some
Yeah.
35 years ago, and I'm pretty much aware of the location. The other thing you mentioned, you have revenues of $1.5 million, but you didn't talk anything about expenses. I was wondering if you did any work on expenses, because revenue, got to have expenses. Difference is profit, or return on investment.
The largest expense would probably, other than construction of the lodge itself, would probably be clearing the land around it, because it is lush. It is a forest. So it would be getting rid of the trees, cutting them down, and maybe using those trees as resources, selling them, for money back to go back into constructing the lodge. That would be one of our largest expenses, and then most likely keeping, employees, paychecks for these employees, hiring locally. And advertising. Advertising would be a big part of expenses. We would try to have a large focus on that to get word out to our community, because a lot of businesses, I feel, in our local community die by just not advertising and not getting the word out that they have a good business, out there. And people just go back to their usual, routine. So I think that advertisement would be a large focus of expenses and attention.
Will you be offering any type of guide services for fishing or hunting or anything directly from the lodge, or partnering with some other guide services
I
to
believe you're
provide a package?
saying of partnering would be a better method, because an idea that one of our members had presented was to rent kayaks from the lodge, but on our end, that would be too much liability to rent them from our lodge and have them take to Yatesville or Cave Run, which, it's 40 miles away. that's too much liability. While kayaks aren't extremely expensive, you know, that's still not the liability we want to have on our heads. So yes, we would be partnering with, you know, guides at Yatesville and Paintsville Lake and the Dawkins Trail to show around, and, you know.
That's a great thought. The liability would be a huge expense and concern, so that's a good idea.
You anticipate 1.5 million a year in revenue. What is, do you have an idea of the local economy, and maybe that's an hour distance, I'm not sure, but what do people spend on recreation typically? What is that market? Is it 10 million, 20 million, 100 million? I have no idea. Do you know?
Well, our local community, you know, I would say that recreation is a back thought, you know, in the back of people's minds, but not because of lack of funds, you know, but lack of availability for recreation. And this would be a, you know, a large event, and, you know, that we would be creating. And other than, you know, our activities and everything, it would stimulate the local economy by creating jobs, by hiring local, you know, local people, and putting back into the community. We would become a focal point for Paintsville and counties surrounding it, you know? So I would say that the money is there in our community, it's just not being spent well.
And as far as how many people would look to pay money and for these activities, our rival high school, Central, their bass fishing team hosts event every year where they have multiple people come in, vendors come in and sell fishing gear, and that place is packed. It makes so much money that's crazy, and you would be surprised where people come from Illinois and Indiana and Michigan. It's everywhere to sell their stuff because because as you can see from our map, we have so many regions for fishing and activities like that, and hunting also. People pay all kinds of money because these activities are passions. They're a therapy, if you will, because you just forget about the rest of the world and you love what you're doing at the time. And as somebody who also participates in kayaking and fishing and hunting, I love it. There's nothing like it. And if we had something like this to bring in family members from other states that would also like to do these with me, I think it would be amazing.
And, to find the exact revenue and things, we spoke to local hotels, local restaurants, places that do like rent kayaks and things like that, and people at like the local parks and lakes to find out exactly how much money they make per year, like how many people come in to stay, how many people come visit, how many goes to local or how many out of state, and we base that off of those numbers.
And the state, well, the park that's over here has a little sign, Jenny Wiley Park. It has a sign that says over 1 million people visit their park each year. And if that many people are coming in, whether it be locally or from other states or counties, whatever, they're spending money in these areas when they come in, and they could always stay here if they're from the surrounding states.
And would you serve alcohol?
It's not something we've thought of, not something that, you know, not really been a focal point in our plan, but it would be an availability maybe at our local restaurant, you know, our in-house restaurant. That would be good. Maybe serve, you know, some nice wine, something like that.
But above all, you want to keep it safe and family oriented.
Kentucky bourbon.
Because we do know that there are local breweries, even one in this area. You could always contact them if need be.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.